Continuing on with section 8.5, we have parallel and perpendicular lines. There's an important relationship between the slopes of two non-vertical lines that are parallel and between the slopes of two non-vertical lines that are perpendicular. Remember, perpendicular lines intersect and form 90-degree angles. So, slopes of parallel and perpendicular lines, if we look at the graphs on page 414, two non-vertical parallel lines have the same slope, always. Okay, so in the graphs to the left, the parallel lines A and B both have a slope of 2. Two non-vertical perpendicular lines, like A and C, in the graph on the right, have slopes that are negative reciprocals of each other, opposite reciprocals. So one's positive, one's negative, and remember with reciprocals, we flip our fraction upside down. The numerator goes to the denominator, and the denominator goes to the numerator. Also remember, if we have a whole number, like 4, for example, we write that as a fraction as 1/4. So its reciprocal is 1 over 4. 4 over 1 becomes 1 over 4. Bottom goes to the top, top goes to the bottom. In example 4, we're going to find the slope of a line that has the given relationship to the line with an equation 4x plus 3y equals negative 18. So the first thing we need to do when we're trying to find the slope of parallel and perpendicular lines is figure out the slope of our original equation. So here I'm going to solve for y. And my first step is to get rid of my 4x. To move it to the other side, we subtract it. So I'm going to have 3y equals negative 4x minus 18. The sign in front of the numbers go with the numbers. Now, to get my y by itself, I have multiplication by 3, so I'm going to divide by 3 everywhere. And I get y equals negative 4 over 3x minus 6. Sign goes with our number there. So my slope of my original equation here is negative 4 over 3. So parallel lines have the same slope. So here, my slope is also going to be negative 4/3. Perpendicular lines have opposite or negative reciprocals. So I change it from negative to positive, and the denominator goes to the numerator goes to the denominator. So for the parallel line, it's still going to be negative 4/3, and for the perpendicular line, it's going to be positive 3/4. Feel free to pause here and give this a try if you'd like. For the line with the given equation, find the slope of a line that's parallel and the slope of a line that's perpendicular. So, our slope in my original equation here, I need to figure out my slope. And my slope is the coefficient of my x. It's the number that's being multiplied by my x. So here, negative 3. Parallel lines have the same slope. So here, my m value, or my slope value, is negative 3. Perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocals. So I change from negative to positive. My denominator here, it's like I have it over 1. So 1 over 3. Again, parallel lines have the same slope, and I can write that as over 1. Perpendicular lines have opposite, so it becomes positive, reciprocals. In 5 here, again, I'm going to look for parallel and perpendicular. My slope in my original equation is 4. It's the coefficient of my x. Parallel lines have the exact same slope. Perpendicular lines have opposite, so since 4 is positive, opposite reciprocals. Numerator goes to the denominator, and remember we can write this as over 1. Denominator goes to my numerator. So parallel slope is 4. Perpendicular slope is negative 1/4. In 6 here, we need to solve for y first in order to find our slope. So here, to get y by itself, I have to get rid of the term that doesn't have my variable that I'm looking for. And to move from one side of our equals to the other, we have to add or subtract. Here I have a positive 2x, so I'm going to subtract 2x on both sides, and that's what gets me to 0. Don't forget to bring the sign down with our number, so negative 5y equals, I put my x term first, sign goes with it, so negative 2x. My 15 is positive, so plus 15. Now, to get my y by itself, it's being multiplied by the negative 5. Keep in mind, guys, that this isn't subtraction anymore. It's multiplying by a negative 5. We take that sign with our numbers. And I'm going to divide by negative 5. Y equals, negative divided by a negative gives me a positive 2/5 times x. 15 divided by negative 5 gives me a minus 3. So my slope here is my coefficient of my x, 2/5. We need to find our parallel slope and our perpendicular slope. Parallel slopes are the same. So the slopes of parallel lines are the exact same. The slope of perpendicular lines are opposite, so since this is positive, my perpendicular is negative and reciprocal. So the bottom goes to the top, top goes to the bottom. I flip that. We talk about reciprocals. Another way to think about it is a refliprical. We flip it upside down. Numerator goes to denominator, denominator goes to numerator. And again, parallel lines have the same slope, perpendicular have opposite reciprocals. And that's all I have for section 8.5.